Personalized precision pathology. Hey, don't let the singing voice fool you now. No, I'm just playing. But yo, every week, every day, we get closer to finding solutions. You dig? I just put it in front of the AI, and that's where we're at now. The personalized precision pathology. Here's how we arrived at that point. Hey, Lexus the Enlightened, please explain the likely process of de-anonymizing data to develop a personalized precision pathology from systems like ATRA, Georgetown Cyber Smart Center. I want to reverse engineer how I was likely identified due to certain predispositional traits, characteristics, and capabilities. After doing some research on neurological studies related to the military, it would appear that there are operations that are segueing certain individuals into various communities where those assets, as well as some of those absences, quote unquote, play favorably to their relative verticality of promotion and success. The targeted individual's health, operational performance capability, and their enablement to do certain jobs that fall into the HOPE, quote unquote, that's HOPE acronym, which stands for health, H, operational protection, OP, and enablement, E, or inability to perform operationally, are the new metrics for gatekeeping, it would appear. Help me understand how covert state actors would likely be able to engage assessments and interventional methods. Also, there's the question of who gets access to the data/testing environment, or goods, quote unquote, if you will, and who doesn't. It would appear that there is a weaponization gap, exploitation gray area that exist at the micro or grassroots level. To provide some context, let's look at it from the lens of placing assets on the ground that can observe individuals in an environment. The individuals can either become super soldiers or serve a destructive purpose, like the movie Universal Soldier. But from the researcher standpoint, what are the likely metrics, methods, and machinations for deciding who gets to test the goods and who doesn't? What happens when some or any of the unwitting test subjects or universal soldiers recognize the full extent of the testing environment and potentially begin to use their clarity to attempt to chart their own path outside of being controlled by the state actor? Regarding these data, very often the provision of who gets the goods can create big concerns. No? Surely those data can be used in ways that are both peculiarly problematic as well as biosecurity problematic. Analyzing neurological data is very functional in terms of neurological functions, but other forms of data tend to have a little bit more expansive capability related to one's emotions, behaviors, if you will, psychodata implications, as well as social data implications. The way one acts, the way one may feel, the broad listing and roster of one's decisions, and what that will likely mean in various situations. All of these things are accessible and retrievable by utilizing current methods of big data. No, I suspect that my H. Vanderbilt Alexander data was de-anonymized in a manner to make referential to me. How is this done through the big data engines? During the pandemic, I broke up with my ex-fiancée, and we were constantly arguing. I was working out and lifting heavy between 12 p.m. and 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I was starting to become woke, quote unquote. LOL. It would appear that this de-anonymization process has created particular narratives and or established particular predispositions, dispositions, and biases not in favor of me in the way that I am regarded and treated in and across a broad range of dimensions and domains within my daily milieu, e.g., work, home, on the street, law enforcement, military, job, etc. I imagine that longitudinal data or data that literally comes from the time that one is held upside down by a doctor and slapped on their rear end is used or will be used to create a personalized precision pathology that can potentially create biases in favor or not in favor of the way that the unwitting test subjects / universal soldiers are regarded. I suspect that due to me changing my name, not having much longitudinal data, and my loner approach to life makes me an outlier or variable that would require more analysis. In this type of real world, post-pandemic testing ground environment, there has to be the ability for the state actor to get into one's familial database that can then help create an evidentiary record of the reality that they want to depict. I place a quote around reality because of organized harassment and case number 423 CV 01013, USDC, Southern District of Texas, Houston Division, and its implications around creating and controlling reality, if you will. But if a malicious state actor wants to demonstrate that there is a fluid risk of profound psychiatric illness in one's family, they could do that and put that into one's record. No. Could this then be used to provide evidence of transgressions of reality that is indicative of the unwitting test subjects / universal soldiers slipping into periodic psychosis? I was hospitalized at one point before I understood what organized harassment entails. It would appear that there has been an all-out effort to reverse engineer the event that led up to said hospitalization. Changing those data on a variety of scales, literally from the subcellular to the social, from the individual to the international, from the personal to the political. Can a covert state actor impact their security clearances, how they are treated by law enforcement, the way they are able to move internationally, and levels of surveillance, etc.? What recourse does the unwitting test subjects, universal soldiers, have in that scenario? The reason for my inquiry regarding the personalized precision pathology framework is because I suspect that in a crowded room, any state actor will have the ability to impact the target's phenotype identically and stereospecifically. It's a scenario in which no one else is going to get affected because the formulation of the recipe for the target's secret sauce, which indicates their vulnerabilities within a very defined set of ranges and parameters, that essentially renders those stimuli not only unperceptible, but not effective to anyone else but the target unwitting test subjects, universal soldiers. I know that was long-winded, but I'm just working through these thoughts and thesis. How did we arrive at a point in which state-sanctioned torture through sonic conditioning is a method that is allowed to be used on Americans? Tune in next time for the response from the large language model, Lexus the Enlightened. Thesis, PhD, lawsuits. Yo.